We're here with All Bama Sports, and I'm here with my good friend Al Del Greco. Mr. Greco, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you also. So, what brings you back to Alabama after playing for numerous NFL teams?
Well, Huntsville's always been kind of special. I actually got married here back years ago and come back as often as I can. And the quarterback club invited me to come back and speak tonight during football season, which it's great having football season back right now. But I love coming to talk football. I do a radio show every morning, and I guess covering sports never gets old. So people want to share my stories and my interests and all that. I love doing it.
So, was it a big transition coming from off the field to talking about it?
Yeah, I think, and kind of what you guys are doing, you get familiar with it. It gets more comfortable the more you do it. Obviously, there's a lot to learn. But basically, if you take it from the perspective of they kind of want to know what's going on behind the scenes. What can you tell me about what goes on in the meeting rooms or what goes on in the locker room or what you feel in a particular situation and things that you can't get from somebody that hasn't experienced it. So I try to keep it, simple and not be too opinionated. But I always tell exactly the way I feel, and that way, if someone disagrees with me, at least I can tell them why I feel the way I do.
Yes, sir. So, I've noticed you had a son that's going to Auburn. How do you feel about that?
Great. He's in the band there, plays the bass drum. He's a sophomore, and to experience game days, football through the band now. I did it as a player, obviously, and got to go out in the crowd. And just the first day that the band actually went in his freshman year to kind of practice and see, where they sit and how to line up and how to go on the field and all that. He said it was absolutely amazing. And I said, well, Derek, you're as good as that was, wait until there's 86,000 people in there. And of course, Auburn has that band entrance where they're all in the tunnel and they play the music and they all come running out together. And after Saturday's game, I asked him, I said, do you still get that unbelievable rush when it's time? He said, Dad, the hair stands up on my skin. It's so cool that it's a great feeling.
So, being an alumni from Auburn, and you were a kicker, and I saw that you went 110 for 111 there. How did missing that one
Yeah,
kick feel?
everybody wants to know about that one. I actually made 55 in a row, and I think the record for consecutive extra points was 48. So I broke the record and went a couple more, and we were playing Tennessee. And if you can believe it, an extra point, probably the shortest kick you'll ever have,
Right.
was actually low and left, the one that I missed. That's how bad I actually hit the ball. But and then after that, I ended up making 55 more. And a lot of that obviously is me, but the snapper and the protection and all that other stuff, you got to give all those guys a lot of credit too.
How did you get your head back on right from missing that one kick?
That's, I think, what separates the guys that are good kickers and the guys that are able to go on and be pro kickers, or you got to be able to let that go. Kind of like they talk about quarterbacks and defensive backs. Quarterback throws an interception, he's got to come right back in next series and forget about what's going on. If a defensive back gets burned on a long touchdown, he can't line up the next play and be worried about what's happening. You got to kind of let it go and realize that you're not going to be perfect. As much as you practice and as good as you think you are, there are going to be misses, and as long as the misses are a lot fewer, you're going to be okay, and they'll keep you for a while.
So, to all the aspiring young kickers out there, can you give them some words of wisdom?
Yeah, the thing that I did, I think that was most beneficial to me was I repped so many kicks, kind of like, you see receivers stand in front of a ball machine, just catch. You want to make it so it's second nature, that when you go out on the field, you don't have to think. And the more repetitions you get, the better off you're going to be. And obviously, the game is a little different because the pressure's on now and you don't know what the situation's going to be. I'll never forget the first game-winning field goal I had, or the first field goal I had, period, at Auburn was my freshman year, the very first game at TCU. And literally, when I went out on the field, I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous and so anxious and so I couldn't breathe. And it was a 35-yard field goal. I made it somehow, and we ended up winning the game 10-7. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, and Towards the end of my career, it was kind of like, man, give me the opportunity. I want it to come down to that kick because, let's face it, you get a lot more credit than you're probably deserving when you make the kick and everybody says you won the game. Well, there were a lot of other guys that did stuff too.
The Titans, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How did that feel when you all didn't win?
It was, what's the word? Kind of, obviously disappointing would probably be the best way to put it. We had so much success that year, and the Music City Miracle had happened in the playoffs against Buffalo. That was kind of like you're thinking, man, this is our time. We went into Indianapolis when Peyton Manning first came into the league and beat them in Indianapolis. We beat Jacksonville for the third time in 1 year, which is almost unheard of in Jacksonville to get to the Super Bowl. And then we played the Rams, who we had beaten earlier that year, and it was a great football game. We had a chance there at the end, and Steve McNair, God rest his soul, one of the best warriors that you'll ever have. And a lot of people remember that scramble where two guys basically have him by his jersey and he doesn't go down and finds a way to throw the ball to Kevin Dyson down there. And Mike Jones he made a great tackle for the Rams. A lot of times they kind of slip off and Kevin gets in, and I think the more I thought about that, as disappointed as I was walking off the field, it was probably 3 months later that I realized, well, we would have kicked the extra point to tie the game, and if we would have had a chance to win it, it probably would have been with a field goal in overtime, which would have been unbelievable for me, or as bad as it could be if I would have missed it, So my part in history, I got to a Super Bowl. I made field goals in the Super Bowl, but I was that close to being a huge part of the outcome of the game.
Can I get a War Eagle?
War Damn Eagle.
I'm Tyrin Mosby here with Alabama Sports.